What's going on, everybody? It is Corbin Stuckey. I hope you are having a fantastic day. Today, we're going to be talking about a game that I have played throughout the week that I'm really excited to be talking about, and that is Resident Evil Requiem. I'm actually really excited that I have this copy because apparently this is sold out everywhere. A week has gone by. There's been so many memes of this game. It's garnered popularity, and it's really hard to get a copy of this game. Go on Amazon, go on Target, Walmart, which is something that really satisfies me because that means that people still care about physical media. And I think it's a point that needs to be kind of looked into. Hey, we still like collecting games and movies. They just have to be good. They have to be well regarded. So the fact that this game is being sold out everywhere, I think is an achievement. So good on you, Resident Evil Requiem. Resident Evil Requiem stands as the 9th Resident Evil game in the mainline story. In this game, you play as Grace Ashcroft, who is an FBI agent who is investigating these murders surrounding this virus that's going around the city. And she's assigned to go to this hotel where conveniently her mother died 8 years ago, which that's weird. Why would you do that to one of your FBI agents? That's unprofessional, but let's get past that. As she's doing her investigation, she finds out more about her mother, Alyssa Ashcroft, who was a character in Resident Evil Outbreak, who was an investigative reporter looking into Umbrella, and she finds out stuff that her mother was looking into, and in the process, she's actually kidnapped by the main villain of the game. She's then taken to a private hospital in the outskirts of nowhere, where she is then followed by one of the greatest characters in this series, Leon Kennedy. By God, I love this man so much. I'm so happy he's here. And what makes Grace so different from other Resident Evil characters is that this is a very scared and skittish character. She looks like she is having an anxiety attack throughout this entire game. She barely has any weaponry in the start of it. She's constantly running away from all these horrifying looking monsters and having a visceral reaction to all of this. By the way, the monsters in this game, they're scary. This is probably actually not only one of the scariest Resident Evil games made, this is probably actually one of the scariest games that I have ever played, period. This is a very effective horror survival video game, and part of that is due to the fact that you are playing a character who is very humanized in that she is basically just scared of everything that is happening around her, and she's clearly having PTSD from the loss of her mother 8 years ago, and it's just a perfect way to implement horror and scares into this franchise and breathing new light into it, and I absolutely loved how effective this game was. Also, the game has a really good balance where you are not only playing the horror side of the game as you're playing as Grace Ashcroft, but you're also playing half of it as Leon Kennedy, where if you are someone who is a fan of the action elements in a lot of the Resident Evil games, you get that in this game as well. And I feel as though this game does a really good balance of the horror elements and the action elements, whereas sometimes, like in other games like Resident Evil 6, where it was so focused on the action elements, you lost kind of the horror tone of the whole franchise. But this game does a really good job, very close to that of Resident Evil 4, where even though there's a lot of action heavy stuff, there's a lot of guns, there's a lot of kicking because you're Leon Kennedy, the game is still able to maintain this horror tone, which I really appreciated. And again, this is how I feel you approach a Resident Evil game. I didn't play Resident Evil when I was a kid. I've talked about that in the past, where my parents were very selective of the games that I played. I played mainly Nintendo games on my GameCube. Ironically, we watched the Resident Evil movies, though. They were okay with me watching certain movies, but they weren't okay with me playing mature video games. I don't know, it's just kind of counterproductive. So it wasn't until 2019 where I actually dived into the Resident Evil series when I played the remake to 2, and I was introduced to Leon Kennedy alongside Claire Redfield. And after playing that game, I recognized that the movies had it all wrong. It was clear that the movies were trying to implement that of The Matrix. The Matrix came around that time in the early 2000s, and I just saw that the movies were not perfect interpretations of what these games were supposed to be. Yes, there are guns and there are action sequences, but the main tone of these games is a survival horror element. That's what makes a Resident Evil game. And I started playing the other Resident Evil games like Resident Evil Biohazard and the Nemesis remake, Resident Evil Village, and then one of my absolute favorites, Resident Evil 4 Remake. I played the original one too, and the original one is a timeless classic, but the remake did such a good job at honing in what made that original game spectacular. I probably regard it as one of the best remakes ever. It's so hard to go back to this classic game because this remake is out there. It's just so well done. And what I love about Resident Evil Requiem is that it takes notice of this time that we've had as Leon Kennedy, not only for the people who have played as Leon Kennedy since like the 90s, but for the new players like me who have come in, who have known this character or been introduced to them for the first time since 2019. And this is kind of an unofficial trilogy in a way, where we played as him in Resident Evil 2 remake, then Resident Evil 4 remake, and now Resident Evil Requiem, and we see like this very older version of this character that we've gotten to know for like the last 7 years. It's really, really fulfilling. And I know like there's been this talk of like nostalgia bait in movies and other pieces of media like video games, but like it just felt really well done within this game. To properly compare it, it's like you've gotten to know John McClane in the Die Hard series, and then you haven't seen him for a while, then all of a sudden Live Free or Die Hard comes out in 2007, and you're like, damn, this guy still has it. And I don't care of all the cheesy one-liners that he says, that dude knows how to deliver. It's the shittiest dialogue possible, but when he says it, it's like, fuck yeah. And as I said before, this game is divided into two halves. The one half where you're playing as Leon Kennedy in the action sequences, and the other half where it's the actual horror of the game, where you play as Grace. And when the game is trying to scare you, it's really effective. When you're at this hospital, you're introduced to this new variant of the T virus, and you're introduced to zombies, which, by the way, I love that we're veering back into like the zombie element of Resident Evil. I feel like we haven't really seen that in a while. And these zombies are pretty different from what we've known in the past. These zombies are almost maniacal and psychotic. I was kind of thinking about like other zombie movies that I've seen in the past, like almost Wreck and The Sadness, where you just see something within their eyes and it's just more creepy when they're smiling at you. There's one scene in the game, without getting into like too much spoilers, it's just kind of like an image-based thing where Grace is walking into a dining room at this hospital, and you just see all of the zombies on this table, and there's just something about that is so primal, and I'm like, that is horrifying. Imagine walking into that and just laying witness, and you're just like, I've got to run. And that's another thing about this game that I really love as well, is sometimes you are low on ammunition. Sometimes you don't have ammo. Sometimes you really have to go around this facility trying to find things to survive. And the best course of action sometimes is to just run. And that is one of the best elements in a horror game, is when you are left hopeless, essentially, and you just have to get out of there. You have to go somewhere to a safe place, find whatever you need to press on, and this game has that. There are also zombies that sing. Like there's like a woman in the top floor of the hospital, and it's just so creepy. It's like psychotic. I love how like they were just like, hey, we're gonna do zombies again in this game, but we're gonna go like top notch. Like we're gonna make them creepier. We're gonna make them menacing. Like they are visually scary in this. And the zombies are not the only thing to be scared of. There's actually a lot of creatures within this game, and I could tell that the designers were going for more of this phobia aspect, where it's like, what can we do to make these characters scared? You have this creepy big giant monster reminiscent to that of the barbarian monster. You have this fat piece of shit monster chasing you throughout the hallways. This might be potential spoilers if you haven't played the game yet, but there is a tarantula that Leon Kennedy has to fight. And then there are these creepy little girls that are presented at this orphanage that you find at this level. It just seemed like the developers were really trying to hone in on what can we do to scare all aspects of people. I was kind of wondering, like, shit, are there gonna be like clowns in this game? I wouldn't be surprised, because I just kind of felt like there was like different types of scares in this game where anyone is bound to be scared while playing this. This is a very effective game. The game also offers the options of playing in third person if you're more into the action elements, or if you want to be really, really scared, you can play in first person, which I personally like playing my games like Resident Evil wise in third person, because I like seeing the characters. I love these characters, so I like seeing them on my screen. Whereas I understand the first person element though. You want to be engulfed in this game. You want to make sure that like you're getting the most amount of experience by getting scared if you're playing this game in the dark. So I love how like that is an option. I think that should be a required necessity with future Resident Evil games. And also it applies replayability. I feel like I could go back into the game and get a different experience through that first person mode and still replay a game that like I really, really enjoyed. So I love that there's different options of that. So yeah, guys, I really enjoyed this game. I think it's like, for now, like my top game of the year. And not only that, it's probably like at least top 3 Resident Evil games for me. It's just so well done. I can't wait to see what they do in the future. This is really, really good. This is a must play if you've been a fan of the series since like either 2019 or farther into the 90s. This is how you do a Resident Evil game. You have to play this. So yeah, guys, that was my thoughts on Resident Evil Requiem. Comment down below if you've played this game yet. Let me know what the scariest part of this game was for you. Like this video, share it, and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet for more movie stuff, gaming content, and so on. Thank you guys so much. I am Corbin Stuckey, and thank you for watching.